So whatever happened to the band Status Quo, and why weren't they bigger in the U.S.? We'll look at that coming up next on Music Meanderings. Hi, I'm Mike Lamneck, and won't you take the time to please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, and if you would like to help out and donate, you can do that by hitting the thanks button down there. All of those help out the channel and are greatly appreciated. Well, whether you call them Status Quo, or just plain Quo, the British rock band best known for their boogie rock sound, energetic live performances, they've enjoyed a career spanning more than 5 decades and become a staple of British rock culture. However, in the U.S., the band is still mainly just known for their only top 40 Billboard hit, the psychedelic 1968 Pictures of Matchstick Men, a song still played on oldies radio, but not really representative of the rest of their catalog. They've had over 60 chart hits in the UK. That's more than any other band, including Pictures of Matchstick Men. That was their first charting song. Caroline hit the top 5. Down Down is their only number 1 hit in the UK. 22 of those reached the top 10 in the UK singles chart, and 57 of those songs were in the top 40. Now, since reaching number 5 on the UK album chart in 1972 with Pile Driver, Status Quo have placed 29 consecutive studio albums on the UK charts, including 20 in the top 10 studio albums, extending all the way up to their most recent release, 2019's Backbone. In fact, as of 2015, they were one of only 50 artists to have achieved more than 500 total weeks on the UK album chart. So being that huge in the UK, why didn't they make a bigger impact in the US? I recall looking through record bins, as I often did as a kid, and I never came across Status Quo albums. I just don't think they were marketed really all that much out here. Formed in 1962 by Francis Rossi and Alan Lancaster. After a couple of other names, the group eventually settled on the name Status Quo in 1967. After their second album, which was 1969's Spare Parts, that failed commercially, so the band's musical direction moved away from psychedelia towards a more boogie rock sound. And their look also changed to faded denims and T-shirts, an image which was to become their trademark. So much so, they even signed a sponsorship with jeans manufacturer Levi's in the mid-70s. Now, their first album for the Vertigo label, Pile Driver, released in 1972, going to the top 5 in the UK and recognized by many fans as probably their best studio album. The heavier sound would serve as a template for their next 4 albums. 1973's Hello, Quo in 1974, On the Level 1975, and Blue for You in 1976. In fact, Hello was the band's first UK number 1 album, while Quo reached number 2, and On the Level and Blue for You both went to number 1. Now, during this period, Status Quo found success and built a reputation as a relentless touring band. Throughout the 1970s and early 80s, the band released a series of chart-topping singles. Their 1977 cover of John Fogerty's Rockin' All Over the World became an international anthem. And by the mid-80s, they'd become one of the UK's most reliable live acts, launching the huge end-of-the-road stadium tour and famously serving as the opening act at Live Aid in London in 1985. And for many in the U.S., myself included, this was their first exposure to Status Quo playing live. However, like many long-running acts, Status Quo experienced internal tensions and lineup changes. Alan Lancaster left in 1985. He was replaced by bassist John Rhino Edwards. Drummer John Coughlin had already been let go in 1981, fired by Francis Rossi and replaced by Jeff Rich and then by Matt Letley. Guitarist Rick Parfitt, Rossi's longtime musical partner, remained a central figure till his death in 2016. Now, Alan Lancaster, in an interview, says out-of-control cocaine use is what ultimately led to the breakup of the group. He said, despite the internal friction, the band continued to record and tour well into the 2000s and 2010s, including the Frantic Four reunion tours, which brought back the classic 1970 lineup of Rossi, Parfitt, Lancaster, and Coughlin for a nostalgic run of shows for longtime fans. Now, in recent years, Status Quo has remained active, though they're getting less media attention. As I said, they released Backbone in 2019. That was their first studio album without Parfitt. It received pretty positive reviews and showed that the band still had some creative juice left. Rossi has also pursued solo projects and authored an autobiography. Now, in 1991, Status Quo received a Brit Award for Outstanding Contribution to Music. In 2014, while preparing to headline the year's Download Festival, Status Quo won the Service to Rock Award at the Kerrang Awards, and they appeared on BBC's Top of the Pops more than any other band. In 2016, Parfitt permanently retired from live performances after suffering a heart attack. He died in Spain on December 24th that same year, and Quo co-founder Alan Lancaster died at the age of 72 in 2021 following a battle with multiple sclerosis. Most recently in 2024, the band completed a UK and European tour. So, what happened to Status Quo? How can a band that was this successful and beloved in the UK and Europe remain relatively unknown in the US? I don't know. Ask Slade, right? Status Quo evolved, adapted, lost members, gained new ones, ultimately endured while never really breaking through in America. While the classic era may be over for the band, Status Quo continues to be heard and pick up new fans. According to their official website, Francis Rossi is currently touring theaters around Europe, promising an evening of songs from the Status Quo songbook and more. So, what do you think? Why wasn't Status Quo ever bigger in the U.S.? And are you a Status Quo fan? Did you ever see him in concert? Comment below. Please like the video and keep checking back for more music meanderings.
Right.